Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have with me two of my friends who have topped this year's NEET PG with amazing ranks. We have Dr. Divya with an All India rank of 8 and Dr. Neeraj with an All India rank of 350. All the three of us have cracked this year's NEET PG, but with very different strategies. So in this video, we will dive deep into each one of our preparation strategy, the mistakes we wish we avoided, and how we balanced university exams and internship along with our NEET PG preparation and many such things. So it's going to be a very raw and honest talk as it's just three friends discussing about the NEET PG journey. So please stick till the end of this video to get a very clear idea about NEET PG preparation strategy. So let's get started. First of all, welcome Dr. Divya and Dr. Neeraj, and huge congratulations to both of you.
Thank you, Alish. It's a pleasure to be with you both today here.
And likewise, glad to be here. Let's hope that this reaches out to a lot of people who are giving their NEET attempts this year, and hope this is of real, of very helpful to them, because that's the aim of what we're about to do right now.
So, all right, without wasting any time, let's get to the first question. How did you guys actually study during your MBBS? Like, did you use any platforms or join any offline classes? Were you solving MCQs back then in UG itself? Did you rely mainly on your textbooks or some other platforms? Basically, tell us all about your MBBS study pattern and how it all helped for your NEET PG preparation. Dr. Divya?
So I think MBBS has played a great role in whatever rank I've achieved today. And so starting from the first year of my MBBS, first year as just like everyone else, I was as clueless, and first year was all about survival. So, but yes, first year, how you start reading your textbooks, how you attend your dissection classes. See, because anatomy as a subject, if you see, it is all about building your orientation with respect to the different structures and then gaining that visual memory. So, that is what you need to build as a first year student. And over time, when it comes to NEET PG, the anat aspect is more of an applied anatomy aspect. So once you're strong with your visual memory and basics in your first year, so you can build up on that in the coming years with the applied anatomy aspects and take it there, take it from there ahead for NEET PG. So again, physiology is, I think, the bread and butter that you have to start MBBS with. So it is so crucial and so important that without physiology, you can't do anything in pathology or medicine. So your physio and one thing that I've noticed about physiology is that it's so great that physiology keeps getting repeated every year. So you do physiology extensively and exhaustively in your first year. So read the standard textbooks. So that will make a lot of difference in how you study your pathology or medicine. See, physiology gets again repeated in pathology, pharmacology in your second year. Again, it gets repeated the year eye physiology in your third year. And again, all of the clinical subjects have their basis in physiology. So I think physiology is one such subject that you should give it your all so that you become the best you can in that subject. Biochemistry, again, is like one such subject where it's volatile. So you do your best in your first year and take it ahead from there. So second year, coming to second year, I think if you don't do any other year of MBBS also, you should do, at least you have to do your second year well. So they are like, they cover 80% of your clinical subjects, especially medicine and pedia. So in second year, I was not thinking that much about NEET PG as such, but then, herd mentality, all my peers, friends were like taking subscriptions. So I was like, okay, so I'll have an additional source videos that I can watch. So I also took the DAMS videos. It was a combination of online and offline, but I haven't been to offline classes as much. It was mainly the online classes that I was listening, that too not from A to Z of the videos. So since I had picked up that knack of reading the textbooks right from first year, because first year I did not watch any videos as such. I wasn't, yes, now I am aware that there are videos like Dr. Najib's lectures, all of that. So back then I wasn't aware, or rather didn't pay attention to all of those things. So I kind of dwelled in my textbooks. And so that knack of reading the textbook, I carried it forward in the second year. So only those bits and pieces where I couldn't understand stuff or had to get something done quickly for probably an internal that's coming in the next 2 or 3 days. So that is where I put the videos in. And so use those videos to fill those gaps. So again, I didn't do those videos A to Z. So that is how second year passed, mostly with like a lot of reading with my textbooks, the standard textbooks of patho, pharmac, and micro. Then going into third year, so again, the next step of realization struck me that, oh, my friends have already made notes from the second year subjects and probably a little of first year subjects, but I hadn't done much of it. Yes, I was happy that I had read all of the standard books and my concepts were growing nicely, so I was pretty happy with that, but like I didn't have any notes as such. So I decided, okay, third year, anyway, short subject, so it's my advantage. I'll have time to finish the videos also and read the textbooks also. So I did both hand in hand in the third year for the third year subjects. And as and when the clinicals were happening, started reading the clinical textbooks and manuals, and built on the some knowledge about the clinical subjects too. So that is how third year went, apart from the fests and stuff. So coming to the final year, one more step of realization struck me that, okay, I'm doing stuff, like I'm carrying the concepts forward, but then I thought about NEET PG. So it's like not one subject, two subject, three subjects that I'm dealing with. So it's all the 19 subjects that I'm dealing with. So I realized I need something concise to go through all the 19 subjects in a short span of time. So that wouldn't be possible if I have to open Robbins, Tripathi, all of that again. So what I decided was, yes, okay, third year I have made my notes, so I have something concise. So final year, I'm right now in final year, so I would do the final year stuff, read the textbooks and make the videos. So first and second year, I was thinking what to do. So I was not ready to go back and do the videos all over again because videos are mainly for understanding your concepts. I have spent so much time reading the textbooks itself to understand those topics. So I decided, okay, so I'll get printed notes. I just want a concise source. So obviously, if I read it, I would understand it. So that was the plan. So I got the printed notes of DAMs for the first and second year subjects, and being in final year, used the, I mean, made my own notes for the final year subjects. And the strategy for final year subjects as such was for the main subjects, yes, textbooks and videos. For the minor subjects like radio, psychiatry, dermatology, it was only the videos that I focused on. So I did not complete the videos A to Z as such in final year also, but like probably 80% of those smaller subject videos also, I did do it. So before beginning internship, so I had done obviously for my university preparation done with the textbooks of all of these subjects. Plus, I had, whether I'd read it or not, I had a concise source with me which I could read whenever internship offers me time for my NEET PG preparation.
That's very true, Dr. Divya. I completely agree with you. Even for me, because my concepts were good, especially of the second year subjects, like you told, NEET preparation towards the end became much easier and much simpler. So, Dr. Neeraj, do you want to add something to this?
Okay, so yeah, Divya, that was very well put and covered in quite a bit of detail. So if I were to have something to add, it would just be that most people tend to assume and approach your MBBS exams and theory exams separately from your NEET PG prep. And in my view, that sort of approach is a bit problematic because in the end, concepts are still the same. Maybe you're giving a bit more focus to certain other topics and all of that, but in the end the core concepts and the fundamentals don't change. So that is where textbooks are very important in my opinion, because like when people study purely, when they're studying a concept thinking, okay, I just need to write this in exam so that I pass, you are not registering that concept very strongly into your head, and because of that you have to again read the same thing separately while you're studying for your entrance exams. So it's, you're doing double work over there itself. So that is where, yeah, like Divya said, textbooks are very important, because one good reading of your textbooks help you, cover all bases, and it makes your foundation very strong. And in the end, a strong foundation is ultimately upon what you can build your NEET PG prep that will help you over the long term. So I hope that sort of covers everything. And that was, yeah, very well put regarding the importance of, say, second year subjects and all of that. Because, like, say, when you study something like microbiome, you're also integrating it with, say, medicine and other subjects. And if you're reading patho, that gets integrated automatically with other subjects like ENT, surgery, and all of that. So, yeah, each year's subjects are pretty much important, so I can't stress more on the importance of textbooks.
That's very well put, Neeraj. So this one's for all the undergrads watching this video. How should they approach MBBS, and at what point should they start thinking about NEET PG? What's your advice for all of them?
So yeah, this is where I believe there is no one size fit all kind of approach, because what works for me might not necessarily work for someone else. But what I did was I had taken my coaching subscriptions pretty much like start of second year. But back then, because I was like comfortable with my textbooks, I didn't give it that much thought at that time. But then I began attending the offline classes very seriously from my third year onwards. And I think everyone who's watching this can relate. Third year is when you're relatively more free compared to, say, your other years in your MBBS. So that gives you a lot of precious time, which you will value if you look at it back in hindsight. If you've used your third year very productively, you will not regret it. So in that sense, I would say, if you're someone who wishes to take your prep seriously from the very start itself, third year is, I think, the best time to like build and keep all your notes ready at that time itself. So because for me, what I largely did was my fundamentals was built around my textbooks, and then on top of that, I prepared my notes by attending my dams offline classes. And like, at least I would say, maybe for by the time final year was done, I had my notes for almost 60 to 70% of my subjects was covered there itself. So that gave me time to like focus largely on solving MCQs and Q banks and giving more GTs during my internship. So how I compartmentalized my approach in a nutshell is covering all my textbooks while preparing and reading a topic for the first time, attending my offline classes, and keeping all my notes ready, like, say, by the end of final year. And during internship is purely for Q banks and MCQs.
So thank you so much, Neeraj. Divya, you want to add something?
So it was very well put by Neeraj. One thing that I wanted to add is that, as he said, one size doesn't fit all. So it is the same is applicable to every subject in MBBS, is also what I personally felt. So say if you're very thorough with physiology, so the concise, you need not even have a concise notes at the end to actually revise it. So if your basics are that strong, so the your source of revision should could just be the question bank itself. So that could be one thing that you can refer or like use to stay in touch with the subject and also build your concepts, not necessarily just the notes again and again. So it's just not the notes that you have to. It is a good thing if you have the notes for all the subjects, but it is not that one rule that applies to all the 19 subjects as well. So say anat, you're not good at it. So yes, use your notes, read it, revise it, go through it again and again. Physio, your concepts are very good in physio. So just use the question bank. So that will fetch you the concepts that will build your fill in your gaps, and you it'll save your time as well. Or one more thing, you could use flashcards as well for volatile subjects, say micro, too many organisms, too many biochemical tests. So flashcards. So again, going back to notes, reading it in the same monotonous way may not work for you. So you could use flashcards. So you have to sit with yourself and you have to understand what each subject means to you. So anatomy could mean something for me, something else for you. So like that, you could prioritize what resource that you want to use as your concise revision tool for like each individual subject is what I would like to say.
That's very true, Divya. I completely agree. So let's talk about internship now. How did you guys? Because a lot of people will be curious about this, as all the three of us have cracked it in our very first attempt, along with managing internship duties. So how did you guys study during internship, Divya?
So yes, internship was indeed very hectic, and for me, it was not something that I could like plan, that I could study for like 2, 3 hours every day, or even 1 hour every day was like not happening. So like one thing that I did was I relied a lot on solving Q banks, and the other one thing that uh, I've grown to learn is that you can learn from your hospital, from your patients, from your PGs. So it's not just the apps, your notes, or your textbooks from where you learn. So internship is like a golden opportunity. So you can make anything that you want out of it. So how so say you're doing a simple procedure like a lumbar puncture. So it's all you can think so many things about it. So you could cover the structure spheres by the LP needle. So you are doing a that. So you could think of the various needles. So you're doing anesthesia. So you could go back and read about the spinal cord length in adults, children. So you're covering medicine, peds, stuff. So if you still extrapolate it, yes, CSF, you're getting CSF, you're testing for meningitis. So it's all around you. So you just need to be cautious, vigilant enough to pick up those small things. So a lab report comes in of a patient suffering from suspected meningitis. So you read that, you learn about the protein, glucose, the sugars. So it's just about applying yourself. See, everyone has gone through the 4 years of MBBS. You will have some amount of basic understanding. So just instead of just viewing internship as for doing mechanical work, yes, that is it takes up the chunk of your time in internship, yes. But if you apply yourselves, you'll get a little extra edge. And after coming back from internship, as I said, I couldn't dedicate a fixed time every day because it's so variable. So one thing I did was extra reliance on question banks, because I feel that question banks are something uh, that I have to do more actively than just reading, because like reading is more passive and I'm not likely to focus or like put my entire attention to that at the end of a hectic day. So I would do a few questions. It need not, I did not have a limit like say I have to do 50 questions, I have to do 100 questions. No. So if I get even 5 to 10 minutes of time, so I would do that 5 questions. So that 5 questions, you may ask me, so how will 5 questions help you? It's not a big number, but what I was carrying forward from that 5 questions is like staying in touch with my subject and having the momentum. So I do 5 questions in like 10 minutes today. So tomorrow, if I get 3 hours, so I'll at least know where I am, what to do, and how to pick up and utilize those hours instead of just wondering, okay, I haven't touched a book since the last 10 days, so I don't know what to do now. So I don't end up wasting the time I get in, say, probably once in a week or something, you get 2 hours. So to utilize that time well, so you just have to do those small things, be it 5 minutes or 10 minutes every day, is what I feel.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And thank you so much for touching on the importance of solving MCQs. So, yeah, Neeraj, you want to add something?
So yeah, that was nice, and I really liked how Divya, touched upon the importance of making the most of what time we have, and also like like actively learning from what we do in internship. And again, that also I would like to touch upon that aspect, because like say when you're approaching your internship, I sort of compartmentalized it into this way. Like half of internship is like, okay, maybe like roughly 4 to 6 months is on the more hectic side when you're on medicine or OBG or say surgery or orthopedic, something like that. That is when things are more hectic and we don't find ourselves with that much time compared to say when we're posted in PSM or ophthalmology or something like that. So that is when we have to decide how we want to approach our prep during these different phases. For me, what I laid more emphasis on was consistency. Regardless of how much work was there, I always made sure that, okay, you know what, okay, I'm in medicine right now, I can't do perhaps how much I would want to, but at least let's say put in 1 hour a day, at least 1 to 2 hours a day, so that we don't feel like it's a day entirely wasted. So like it's about finding where you can where you can put in that kind of time. Like, say for me, I had to travel from a pretty far off distance to come to work every day. So for me, during that metro travel, say I would, like, sit and do, like, say 20 MCQs during that journey, and then going back another 20. That's where, you try to, fit in that fit in all those gaps, and make sure you're at least making the most of whatever little time you get. And another thing also is, like, so that you like, understand what kind of work you're doing in your internship, and at the same time, actively understand what procedures you're doing and all of that. You can study that same subject in whichever particular department you're posted in at that point of time. Like, say you're working in medicine, right? You will see a variety of different sorts of cases. To make sure you actively, understand what is happening around you at the same time, if you read those same concepts, it helps you on both fronts. Whatever cases you see, that will indirectly help you with your preparation. And even whatever you're preparing, it will help you, work independently as well, and, better appreciate, and, like, you can start to actively diagnose things on your own as well, which it gives a good feel in its own by itself. And when you're, say, posted in a department like PSM, I think everyone's posted in PSM for 3 months, right? And I don't think you need 3 months to study PSM. So that is when, you can go back to your first year and second year subjects and actively revise those, because that's where you get the most amount of time, and I think that's where you can, cover most of your bases. So then it, depends on how you plan things out slash chart things out. For me, in this regard, I feel I had a lot of helpful seniors who, gave me a bit of advice on, how to approach this regard. And I mean, you're watching this video, and sure, we're giving you a lot of tips, but I would say talk to your seniors as well, talk to your fellow postgrads as well, because some of them themselves might have cleared NEET in the first attempt. So you can ask them their approach and their journey as well, because I'm pretty sure most of them also would be very glad to see you crack it in your first attempt as well. So you can talk to them, figure it out. Even they'll, like, have a lot of pearls and, advice to, give you as well. For me, in that front, I'm, very grateful for many of the PGs I worked with and many of the seniors that I had. So yeah.
Absolutely, Neeraj. Like they say, motivation comes and goes. It's very temporary, but what matters is how disciplined you are and how consistent you are. So, for all the interns out there, I feel like there will be two groups of people. The first one, they would have completed all the subjects in their UG itself. They have notes for everything. They might have even solved MCQs during UG. And the second kind of people, like me, who are starting fresh in internship, starting from scratch. So, how should they prepare, and how does the strategy differ for both kinds of people?
Okay, yeah, I'll take this one then. So yeah, like I briefly touched upon before, like, suppose if you fall under the first category and the first bracket of people who have covered everything during their up by the time their final year is done, they've, pretty much covered they have all their notes ready and all of that. Internship is when, exhaust your Q banks completely. Just go all out, solve everything, because solving Q banks is ultimately what is the active process itself. Whatever mistakes you make, you will not repeat those mistakes ever again. As you, completely, work on your Q banks and keep solving them. There's, that and GTs. So that is the main approach that I would suggest if you fall under this bracket of people who've, covered everything and have all your notes ready in one place. This is what you can do. This is the ideal approach that you can do. If not, if you come under the group that says starting from scratch during internship, it's still fine. Because remember, you've just given your university exams, right? So those final year concepts will still be very strong in your head. So I still think you can actually start solving your Q banks of your final year subjects at least immediately. Because, like, say if you're because I was in OBG, like in my labor room in the very first posting that I had, I realized that my concepts were still, pretty much in my head, because I felt I had given university exam very recently. So I felt a lot of things were very fresh in my head. So that I did not have to break my head over it too much or go back to videos or notes again. So I feel in that aspect, I feel you can still approach your final year subjects directly. And if there is, say, a very specific concept or topic that you're weak in, you can directly approach your notes instead. If you feel you don't have that much time to, say, watch videos, you can directly go through your notes and then, approach the same thing again. And if not that, like, say, first year subjects will be fresh for anyone, regardless of whether you've made your notes or not. So that's when, like I said, you'll get a lot of time in other departments that are, more relatively peaceful to work in. That's when, you can quickly brush through your notes or watch your videos that time and parallelly solve your Q banks as well. So even if you are under the category that is, doing things fresh and from start, I would say read a topic. Like, say, suppose if you're doing, say, something from anatomy, if you're starting from scratch, read upper limb, immediately solve the Q bank of upper limb. Read lower limb, solve the Q bank of that. Just, like, make sure you don't neglect your Q banks and be like, first I want to read everything once, only then I'll begin to solve. It's, the whole process should, complement each other between your whatever passive learning you're doing and whatever you are solving. So yeah, that's where it comes in. And I think GTs is a common factor between two groups. So regardless of where you fit in, you need to, like, make sure you're giving enough GT attempts and all of that.
So yeah, like you said, it doesn't matter where you are in your preparation right now, like in the internship, but you should actually aim for the first attempt and give it your best, right?
That depends on your personal comfort zone, because like, there are some people who would, like, because, like, studying and clearing NEET in your internship attempt itself isn't the most pleasant journey. I think all of us can vouch for it, because there have been days when we have gone through our own personal hell as well. So yeah, if you are confident that you want a more relaxed schedule and you want to do things as per your comfort, well and good, go for it. But if you are determined that you want to just get out of this rat race and like, move forward with life as early as possible, then go ahead and give your best shot. But don't fall under this category wherein you're neither enjoying your internship or having fun, and you're not giving your best foot forward as well. Like, choose which side of the spectrum you want to be in. Don't be someone in the middle.
So true. That's what, if I mean, just because somebody didn't do the UG very well, that shouldn't limit them from aiming for first attempt. That's what I meant, right? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Undoubtedly.
Divya, you want to add something?
No, Neeraj has pretty much covered everything, especially with respect to the first group. Like they know where they are and they can go ahead with the question banks and GTs. The second group, yes, no harm. You've done all the years of MBBS, just like your peers of the first group. So nothing to get disheartened. The only thing, as he said, the best way you can like start off with your Q banks is with the final year subjects because they're fresh. And one more thing I would suggest to them for the other subjects, like they might be thinking which subject to start off. We have a platter of subjects in front of us and we don't know where to start, what to do. So what they could do is give a grant test is what I would say. So not one, maybe at least two or three grant tests in a span of 1 week. And so you look at the grant test analysis. So which are your strong subjects, which are your weak subjects, that will show. So you could either sit with yourself and analyze on your own also, but giving a GT and analyzing is one other such approach to know which are your strong subjects and which are your weak subjects. So I would suggest them to start off reading with their weak subjects and simultaneously start off the Q banks with the strong subjects, and they could go retrograde to read notes or watch videos in their strong subjects only for those topics where they are lacking. So like you work through question banks from your strong subjects and through your videos and notes for the weak subjects, and then you'll reach a middle ground where you can mix and match and get things done as well.
Now let's talk about the last 3 months after graduation, before our NEET, the time we all really went full throttle. So how was your plan? What was your approach? How many hours were you grinding every day? So tell us all about the last 3 months before NEET, Divya.
Okay, so the last 3 months, basically our internship went on till April end, graduation, all of that. So basically, full start was somewhere the 1st of May. So back then, NEET PG was scheduled for June 15th. So what I had, the time I had in my hands was just 1.5 months. So what I thought was, I will, in the 1.5 months I have. So previously I was doing all the question banks and like reading topics as such, but I had not focused on the previous year questions and topics as a whole. So I decided, because that is what gives you the maximum advantage in an exam. So it is just 20% of the stuff, but it will help you for 80% of your exam. So I decided to go ahead with that first, like cover all of the PYQs and the PYT simultaneously, and read my short subjects, because I was not great at my short subjects. So I started reading my notes for the short subjects and doing the PYTs and the PYQs. So initially, I would like starting, spend 6 to 8 hours, because it was just after internship. You are all at home. You have so many hours at hand, but like getting in the groove takes time. So like I was trying for 6 hours, then 8 hours. Then over time, over the next 1 month, I was aiming for like 10 to 12 hours a day. So that was the plan. So by the time I finished the PYQs and the PYTs, it was almost the end of May. And then these news about NEET PG getting postponed, all of that came in. And finally, somewhere around 2nd or 3rd June, it did get postponed. And we had like 2 full months at hand. So by this time, I was done with the PYQs, PYTs. I was also giving weekly grant tests and reviewing it thoroughly. So I decided, okay, so let me add in an extra thing now. So since PYTs is done, so I started going through all of the subjects again. So my plan was in the next 2 months. So 1 month, I will revise all the 19 subjects once. And the next month, the first 15 days will be again to revise all the 19 subjects. And the last 15 days, like 13, 14 days for again revising the PYQs and PYTs. And the last few days for my 20th notebook or the GT review book. So the first revision, what I did, again, I individualized each subject. It's not that I do the same thing for all the 19 subjects, but I do something concise that covers most of the thing for each subject. So for example, micro, I stuck with solving all QBank modules. So patho, I did read my notes completely from like A to Z. So that is what happened in the entire 1 month. So the next 15 days, it was like doing whatever I did in the 1 month. So shortening it down and then covering it in 15 days. So the next 15 days again was for the PYQs, PYTs, and the last few days for my review book. And along with all these, every week GTs was a must, and then reviewing the GTs was also in detail was a part of it.
So, Neeraj, how was your approach for the last 3 months before NEET? What did you do?
Yeah, so I think the main thing over here is you immediately after graduation, that's when you realize you have on a day-to-day basis you have more amount of time, because before your graduation you are dealing with your internship work as well. So I would say during that time, on a maximum basis, maybe you will get 4 to 6 hours maximum, absolute maximum on a very good day. But once your graduation is done, that's when you realize you know you have the whole day to yourself and your preparation. So that's when you have to slowly crank up the accelerator and uh, increase the number of hours that you can commit on a day-to-day basis. And it's not a sudden this thing, you need to gradually increase that up. And so that's where that's the kind of ideal approach that you have to do. Maybe you start off with say 6, and then gradually, say over a week or two, try to reach 10. I would say, like, don't burn yourself out as well at the same time, but try to make the most of whatever time you have once your internship is done. And the other thing is, like, yeah, like Divya mentioned with regard to PYQs and PYTs, those again are the, like, form the bulk around which most of your question paper is always there. So try to give larger focus or emphasis on that, like especially during this time. So the more, because in the end, those are the things that are regularly asked, and getting them wrong is what will affect your rank more than say getting them right, because those are the things the say the bulk of people attempting the paper won't mess up on. So that's where like a good amount of your focus is required. And also, like, given that we're working during internship, we don't get that much time to commit to give our GTs. So maybe during that time we can say maybe give only one GT a month, or say 1 in 2 weeks at maximum. But then after your graduation is done, that's when you can, like, really amp up the pace, and give as many GTs as possible. Like, I would say maybe you can give at least twice, two of them in a week during that sort of time. So, and I can't, like, emphasize more on the importance of giving GTs, because ultimately that's what simulates that real exam approach. And it's ultimately like teaches you how to approach exam, rather than like just imbibing concepts and all of that.
So thank you so much, Neeraj. You know, we all would have experienced. It's very common to have burnouts and bad days during our preparation. So how did you go about it, and what kept you going?
So yeah, the burnouts is a very real scenario, and this is where your friends help you the most. So because the thing is, we don't realize that everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone is facing the same sort of struggle. So I think the moment you sort of realize that you're not in this alone, I think that's when things get a bit reassuring. For me, like, especially after graduation was done, and we were like no longer going to the hospital, and we were just sitting cooped up at home, that is when things get more frustrating, because like, contact with people also comes down comparatively. So that's when talking to your friends on a day-to-day basis, like talking about your day, like whether you manage to cover whatever goals you had set for that particular day. And, like, if you're, say, weak in some particular concept, discussing these sort of aspects, and just having a bit of casual talk also, just to lighten up the mood, all that sort of thing helps. And I can't lay more emphasis on that, because, like, for me, though, I realized I was going mad sitting inside home. So that's when I contacted one of my friends who lives nearby, and I realized, I'm like, what, I can't sit inside. Let's go to a nearby library near our place. Let's sit together and study. Because if you see the other if you see the other person studying and focused as well, it becomes sort of a positive feedback loop, and that is what helped each other remain focused. And at the same time, it kept things very fresh for the two of us. And apart from that, I think yeah, I mean, don't entirely, like, say, be lost in the world of studies entirely. Like, make sure you keep a little bit of time, so that your mind is a bit fresh and all that. Like, keep a little bit of time for some activity, or just watch something. It's fine, you don't have to feel guilty about it, but make sure you do that sort of thing after you complete whatever goals you have set out for yourself. Like, if you want me to say, tell my guilty pleasure, like, maybe say something, watching something as trivial as, say, Tom and Jerry after reading, say, a very heavy topic, or covering a GT. It was like, that type of thing that just makes you laugh a bit, and forget about how stressful the whole thing is.
So yeah, I really couldn't agree more with you, Neeraj. Even during my preparation, because I was studying with my friends, and I used to call a lot of my friends every day, and that's what motivated me to study every day, and that's what kept me going. Even with regard to breaks, I feel like when you work really hard and then take a break, that feels more rewarding and more refreshing than what a break usually feels like. So even during my preparation, the movie F1 got released. So I went with my friends to watch it. And trust me, that 3 hours there felt like the best 3 hours of this entire year. So yeah, when you work really hard and then take breaks, it's very refreshing, very fruitful, and I feel like it kind of pumps you with energy and pushes you to work harder. So yeah, Divya, what do you want to tell about breaks and burnouts?
So, yes, burnout is something that's very real. And so, how I dealt with, so there's one part of burnout where you're feeling the burnout due to the overwhelming syllabus, the unending study hours, all of those things, and so the amount of stuff that you need to do basically. So, how you can cope with that is basically by making a schedule and sticking to your schedule and forgetting the rest. So, that will avoid the uncertainty of how enormous the syllabus is. So the other reason the burnout happens is because of the high stakes of the exam, the competitive nature of the exam. And for that thing, as you both rightly said, you need a friend, a good listener whom you can talk your heart out. And so that is very important. So a friend who is actually in the same boat. And bad days are something that are a part and parcel of your preparation journey. So what I would say is like you anticipate the bad day beforehand. So while you're making your realistic schedule itself, so anticipate those bad days so that you actually account for them happening. And so you chalk in those extra hours, extra days to account for your bad days. So when a bad day actually happens, you don't catch it by surprise and you know how to deal with it as well. And then timely breaks are something that are really important. So it could be the short breaks, like 5-10 minute breaks, or it could be the long breaks. And apart from this, I would definitely suggest all of you to take a half an hour break every day. So to stay away from your studies and social media. So this is the time that you have to use to either go to the gym or take stroll in the park or just walk on your terrace, be with nature, be with yourself. So this will really help to calm yourself down.
So yeah, thank you so much, Divya. The next question is something which even I am really curious about. It's about grant tests. Because I hardly gave some 3 or 4 grant tests in total, and the first one that I gave was also after I finished my internship. So I feel like you guys will be the perfect ones to summarize the importance of GT, including things like when is a really good time to start giving GTs. Should you maintain something like a GT book or something? So yeah, all about GTs.
So yes, so GTs we can start as early as we want, but at least we have to start giving a GT in internship is what I feel. So we need not have finished all of the subjects, completed everything, but starting to give a GT is what makes a big difference in our preparation. So GT works in many ways actually. So it works as a learning tool, a testing tool, so to identify where you're lacking, so be it the concepts, be it the facts, or be it which subject, to actually figure out which subject that you have to study on. And it also builds you physically and mentally for the exam. It familiarizes the pattern of the exam, the format of the exam, so the time management. And the most important thing that a GT prepares you, I think, is to stay focused for those 3.5 hours. So it trains you mentally. So you need to be able to give the same focus to the first question of the exam and to the 200th question of the exam. So the entire 3.5 hours, your focus should be at its best in order to make the best use of the knowledge that you have and all the hours that you've put in over the previous years. So this will be possible. So the to avoid that brain fade. So it is common to everyone. 1 hour will be at our best. So then the hour after that, the attention, the focus, the concentration, everything starts dropping. We start to get distracted. So to work on all of these things, giving the GT is the only way. It is like a practice match for you. So that is how you have to go about it. And one other very important thing is you have to review your GTs religiously, whether you've got 180 questions out of 200 right or you've got just 100 right. So that does not matter, but you have to review all the right and wrong very religiously.
So yeah, I'll carry this where Divya left it. I think the main thing what people are a bit scared about when it comes to GTs is the fact that they feel they are never ready to give a GT per se, because they're like, I've not covered all subjects yet. Maybe not, I'll finish everything once and then I'll give a GT. That's what most people tend to think, which is actually, a bit of a flawed approach in my personal opinion, because postponing the process itself in the end like costs you a lot of time in the process. And it doesn't matter whether you've done only 10 subjects or 12 subjects out of 19. It's all the well good, and you can start anytime, because a GT isn't meant to be seen in isolation. You are not defined by that one GT that you give, because in the end it's like GTs are meant to be a rough indicator and they track your progress over the course of your preparation. So it's not like, it doesn't matter that you get 100 in the first GT. You, as you read more and more and you learn that approach to a GT, say you get 100 in the first one, you might end up going after 3 GTs, you might end up increasing to say 120, and then it might it keeps a track of your upward curve and your progression over the course of your preparation. So that is what matters the most. And an ideal number of GTs to give, I would say my senior had recommended me to give as much as 50, which was a bit out of reach for me even till the very end. But I managed to cover almost up to 30 GTs, was what I was able to give over the course of my preparation. So, how you can go about things is like during your internship itself, I know it is quite hard to, because it requires almost committing a full day by itself if one were to give the GT and then even review it. So yeah, what you can do is like 1 GT in a month is what you can start with. So start with that. It depends. Like I would say, maybe if you're like 1 or 2 months through your internship, I think that would be a safe time to start. So 1 GT every month, and then like you and I also know this as well. Uh, you will get a mandatory leave every month in your internship, and depending on workload also you tend to get a bit of unofficial offs here and there. So that is where I would say try to make the most of that and give your GTs during that time, because otherwise giving it during a day when you're working fully is almost practically impossible during that period. And then as the days get like as we reach the date more and more, as the date gets more and more closer, that's when you can tend to increase the pace, make it say once in 2 weeks. Then as after graduation and all of that is done, that's when you can like amp up the pace and eventually reach a scenario wherein you're giving 1 GT a week. And even when it comes to your GTs, you can rely on multiple platforms, because in the end NEET will not reproduce the pattern that say only what marrow gives. That is your NEET PG exam will be literally the same way, like say marrow tends to phrase its questions and all of that. It doesn't stick to that kind of template. So this is where I think you can rely on multiple platforms, not for your content but for your Q banks and your GTs, because like a lot of these platforms tend to provide a lot of mock tests and GTs for free. So make the most of it. You don't even have to pay and subscribe and all of that. So make use of the kind of free resources that you have out there, and keep giving GTs on a regular basis. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Neeraj and Divya. So my next question: did you guys do something different from the usual, studies? Like maybe maintain like a 20th notebook or GT book or perhaps some flashcards. Because for me personally, Anki flashcards were a total game changer. So I have made a very detailed video on that on my YouTube channel. So for all of you watching, you can definitely go check it out, where I have explained in detail how it helped me and how to make your own flashcards. So yeah, did you guys do anything different?
If you were to ask me, usually most of my approach was very conventional, and I'm not someone who likes writing too much as well. So the concept of having a 20th notebook or a GT book was out of the window from the very outset. But yeah, I managed to remember this. I remember in a couple of channels and even one of my seniors recommending to use the USMLE Step One book, and for me that was useful because for me that helped strengthen the core concepts of my first and second year subjects especially. It's very good for that. And I remember Dr. Aditya Sanjay Gupta, he really recommends using it, because like it condenses and compacts a lot of that information that is out there in that one book that you get. So what I did was, like every day, even like regardless of which subject I was doing, I would like, like casually, scroll through 10 pages of that over a day. So, that helped me personally a lot. So yeah, I would recommend, like giving that book a read once. At least one reading would be very useful for you. Apart from that, when I was using social media, like, there are a lot of these pages out there that put out content related to NEET, like high yield topics and PYQ related topics, in like, in the form of a Instagram post, like, as in like, as a set of slides. So that also was, pretty useful for me. I don't know, you might be familiar with some of these channels yourselves. Right now, none of those are specifically coming to mind. Oh yeah, I remember now. I used clavicle.in. It's a brilliant and very underrated source in my opinion, that's out there on Instagram. And it put out all these PYQ related and high yield topics like in the form of 10 slides. So yeah, that was very useful for me. And if you have something like that, try it out, because that might help you use your social media and Instagram in a different manner, rather than say getting just purely getting distracted by reels and that sort of stuff. Divya?
So yes, I did have a 20th notebook, and that 20th notebook was also my GT review book. So this came into play more closer towards NEET exam, because as and when you keep reading stuff, reading stuff, some things become very common to you, and you also realize that some things, despite repeated readings, are volatile. You forget it despite revising them a number of times. So that is where my 20th notebook came into play. So I used to make note of such stuff like, say, the symmetry of viruses, enveloped versus non-enveloped viruses. So such stuff which I know that I have to revise in the last 2 to 3 days preceding the exam for me to able to get those sort of questions right in the exam. And also, while reviewing normal questions from the cube custom module or sheet. So there are some things in the explanation that I would want to remember in the future, or I would want to build upon, like something that is serving as a spark to my memory, or like one single line that's the most important in the entire explanation that is given. So for all these tiny, tiny things, so I used my 20th notebook. So one other thing that I did different, I think, was doing the late night custom modules. So I was following this channel called Mastering Your Journey. So in this channel, they basically have a very well curated custom modules, and they follow a schedule. Like initially, they go subject wise, and after that they go PYT, PYQ wise, and very close to the exam, it's a mixed bag containing all the subjects put together. So these are basically the custom modules from Marrow itself, but I just liked the way they have been curated and how it makes me accountable to what I'm doing. And I used to do this usually after dinner. And so there was a time limit for these modules that you have to do it within 11:45 p.m. of that day. So it helped me stay focused in that time, because that is the most distractible time for me where I don't actually put in a lot of work. So I had to do it, because if I didn't do it at that time, I would lose it out for the entire day. It's not that something I could push to the next day as well. So that is one thing that I did.
So yeah, what Divya mentioned is a WhatsApp channel called Mastering the Journey of MBBS, which even I used. They give you a set of custom modules every day, and they set a timer before which you have to solve, and then you can wait for the explanations, which will come on the next day. The next one is a very realistic question. Did you guys use social media during your preparation, or were you completely off the grid? So for me personally, if I install Instagram now, and I'll just start scrolling continuously for 20 minutes before even coming out of the app. So I really limited my Instagram usage during the preparation. I would install it once or twice in a week and maybe scroll continuously for 20 minutes. So how did you guys go about it?
So I did use Instagram and other social media platforms during my preparation, but obviously it was all limited. I made sure that I do not exceed my limit, say 30 minutes per day. So, and also at a time, I put in reminders, app reminders, which keep telling me that, okay, you've used this app for 5 minutes, you've used this app for 10 minutes. So that basically reminds you, and it will prevent you from getting lost in that world of reels and feeds. So, yes, you have to be disciplined enough to follow this, and you have to have that self will and trust yourself to not delete the timers, forget about it. So it ultimately depends on you as an individual, whether you're able to deal with it or not. So personally, I am that person who actually cannot cut out from all of that stuff completely 100%. And once I stay focused only on my studies, it'll actually cause more burnout to me. So I would prefer to maintain a good balance between everything at all. How I maintain the balance with social media.
Yeah, adding to what Divya was saying, but yeah, again, it depends a lot on individual to individual. There are, people who tend to get, distracted very easily when it comes to reels and, go a bit overboard. For me, I am the kind of person who, needs that little bit of social media every day But I don't tend to get distracted too much by reels. So, I pretty much had my Instagram till the day of the exam, and, I was pretty much sending a couple of reels every now and then, which tended to surprise my friends a lot, because in the end they were like, how come you were so active till the very end and still, managed to do really well at the same time? So, yeah, in the end, it all comes down to discipline, I think, when you are using social media. So some people, tend to use apps. That's, well and good for them. For me personally, what I made sure ki let's not use more than say half an hour to 1 hour a day. Or if I was using it at one stretch, it would be, just, like 10 to 15 minutes at a time, and, like make sure I've replied to all my friends and, done my mandatory ritual of sending a few memes or reels to them, and then, immediately turning it off. So yeah, in the end, it depends on how well disciplined you are, and how your like how controlled you are when it comes to using these apps.
So yeah, like Divya and Neeraj said, you have to really, have control of using Instagram or YouTube. So you can use app timers, like Divya said, or there's also one more app called OneSec, which I used. So if you enable it, what it basically does is, after you open Instagram or YouTube, whichever app you have enabled it for, then you won't be able to directly enter the app. It will make you pause for like some 5 seconds where you have to take a deep breath, and then you have to decide whether you really want to go forward and use the app. So this really helps us as we open Instagram or YouTube impulsively without even thinking about it, and then scroll on it for minutes together before even realizing it's been a long time on the app. So yeah, you can also give that app a try. So coming to the next question, is there anything you guys feel you could have done differently or perhaps avoided during your preparation?
I don't know, man, because for me it felt like, I mean, for all of us, because things went so perfectly in that first internship attempt. In hindsight, I don't want to think too much about it, but yeah, I'm pretty much more or less satisfied with my prep, and how far it got me. But maybe one thing, if I were to change, yeah, maybe just giving a few more GTs and reaching the targets that my senior had set out for me. But apart from that, I think I was pretty much on the right track, and I hope whoever is watching this video gets their figures out their own path and ideal approach that works for them, so that they don't end this process or leave with a lot of regret. Divya, I think.
Okay, so what I think looking back now, so while I was giving GTs during my internship, a couple of GTs I was just like, I don't know, I was too caught up in the internship schedule that I did not review them well enough. So I feel that you have to review your GTs very well. From the first GT to your last GT, you have to review them very well. And one other thing is the bookmarks on my Marrow account. So it's humongous now. If I look at the number, there's like 5,000, 6,000. So I feel that I shouldn't have bookmarked all of them left and right without thinking if I will actually be able to review them. So instead, been more cautious and segregated the bookmarks into fact based, something that I have to review in the next few days to strengthen the concepts, or like volatile but highly important, which I have to review just before the exam. So if I could have done this segregation of my bookmarks, I could have probably reviewed it in the end, is what I feel.
Now that brings us to our last question. So if you could give one last key message for all the aspirants out there aiming for next year's NEET PG or INICET, what would that be?
So I'll take this first. So I would suggest all aspirants that your goal should be the next upcoming exam that you're giving. So you have to give it your all. So please don't give half-hearted attempts. So whatever time you have, so use the time best. So tailor your preparation with the amount of time you have and the resources you have, and give the best that you can. So that's the first advice. The second being, do not neglect the PYQs and PYTs. So as the Pareto's principle goes, so 80% of your job is done by doing 20% of the stuff. And this 20% of the stuff for your NEET PG exam is your PYQs and the PYTs. So irrespective of the amount of time you have in your prep, so be it 15 days, be it 6 months, be it a year, so this is something that you can never neglect. So don't go to an exam without doing this. And the third thing is it is a long process. So trust yourself, trust the process, just stay disciplined and be patient with yourself.
Yeah. I'll break this down into a few set of bullet points. So the first thing is most of these apps and coaching platforms offer, these rapid revisions and revision courses. Like for instance, DAMS offers DVT, which I had used, and I think Cerebellum also offers its own revision platform, which is called BTR. Again, these are very useful because in the end you won't have enough time to go through your main notes again and again. So in the end, it's these revision notes which are of you know very important when it comes to when you reach the last lap. So over here, multiple revisions is what matters. It's revising these notes multiple times is what will help you the most. So there's the like multiple readings of your revision notes, which is one key point that I would categorize. And then apart from that, it's giving more emphasis on your PYQs and PYTs, and regularly giving GTs. And lastly, it would be like to remember that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So like Divya said, it's important to stay disciplined throughout the whole process, and yeah, just have a bit of faith, and like all things will work out well in the end.
So thank you so much, Divya and Neeraj. It really means a lot for all of us to hear it from you. I'm sure a lot of aspirants will be benefited from your experiences and the strategies that you have shared. I want to just emphasize on one more thing, which you guys have already told a lot of times, that a plan or a strategy is very personal and works best for you only when you have planned it out yourself. So all these YouTube videos, the topper talks, or for that matter, this interview that we are doing right now, it is to just share our journey and the strategies that worked for us, to give you some insight and help you create a plan that truly works for you. So if you haven't had a solid plan, then go grab a pen and a paper, or take out your iPad and start laying out a plan. Even if it's a very rough outline, it's completely fine, because only then you'll truly understand how much you have to study, where are you wasting your time, and how to boost your productivity. Because at the end of the day, what matters is focused hard work. You have to work really hard, but in the right direction, in a very smart and strategic way. So that's it for this video, guys. So I believe this video will help you in your preparation. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow us on Instagram. I will put the link in the description. And please feel free to comment any doubts you have. I'll reply to all of them. So yeah, all the best, and you got this.